Hello and welcome to snowy Koenigsee in Bavaria, just on the shores of the Royal Lake, just outside the town of Berchtesgaden, and celebrating the 50th anniversary of the oldest artificial ice track on the planet. On the 10th of January 1969, the first ever race here on the artificial track, on which we still contend. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven. Welcome to round 4 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Let's take a look then at the Koenigsee track. Above the bob start are the first 4 corners, which are the men's luge start. But the bob start is quite long and fast, and it demands when you load, you have a nice quiet run over the brow into the first of the corners that contest by the bobsled. This is the run down to the S-curves, 4 in a row. S1, S2, S3 and S4, known colloquially as Schlangengruber, the snake pit. And the exit to S4 is critical because it puts you onto what is laughingly, notionally called the straight. It's actually 3 turns, the bend away the Canadians call it, into Jena curve, and then through the turbodrome. 360-degree, 3 pressure Kreisel. You exit where you came in, down into the lower labyrinth, through the Say curve, and then down to the huge corner Echo Wand. This used to be the end of the track. Climbing uphill now from the exit through corner 17 and the last corner 18. A real sting in the tail, 17 to 18. You can see races lost there very easily indeed. Track record dating back to January 2015, with Alana Myers-Taylor and Sherelle Garrett setting the time then. Alana with Lauren Gibbs, tied by Stephanie Schneider and Annie Dracek, the start record at 5:11. And our women's Olympic champion is our current points leader after 2 wins from 3 starts this season, Mariama Yamanka, who had previously never won a World Cup race before she became the Olympic champion in Pyeongchang in February. Now seems all but unstoppable. Gold, silver, gold is her season so far. Anna Kola, her teammate, 2nd place, a bronze medal. We had a bit of an upset last weekend with all sorts of interesting results in Altenburg. Well, there is Mariama Yamanka warming up at this new, relatively new start building. It's got a covered warm-up area right beside the start. Alana Myers-Taylor, behind here, Jennifer Onosanya in the black and red. And there's Misha McNeil with the braids, led after the first heat of last week's race in Altenburg. And then a little incident with a Glühwein cup getting into the track and under the runners. They were officially at 4th place, just a couple of hundreds off gold. There's Jennifer with her unique face mask. Did say she ought to come in and do a headshot with that on, but possibly not. Everybody wrapped up warm. It's around 0 degrees at the moment. After the last couple of days, that last couple of weeks of really heavy snowfall, there's been a few meters of snow. Yesterday, the skeleton races were called off on safety grounds. So much weight of recent snow on the roofs, and around the Berchtesgaden area, the military and the fire brigade have all been out helping people clear snow off roads and roofs. But we are ready to go today. In the grandstands right below my feet are the local fans. Berchtesgaden has had this artificial track here for 50 years now, and before that there was a natural track. They've been racing down the side of this mountain in the shadow of Grünstein for many, many years, many, many decades before that. It's a small town, and this is a big sport in a small town. The headquarters of FIL, the Luge Federation, is here. Headquarters of the IBSF, the Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation, is only just over the border in Austria. So very close to Bayerische Gmünd, which is just on the road out towards Bad Reichenhall. And it is very much a sliding town. It's a big part of it. And there's a look at the upper section of the track, the big yellow VIP building there right beside the S-curves. Let's take a look at our start list. We've got 14 sleds and our newcomers this weekend from Romania. Good to see Andreea Grecu back, and Teodora Vlad, her brakewoman. They join the field, so 14 sleds from 11 nations, and our regulars through the season. There is the start area, and above it you can see all the way up to the hut where the original start was. The artificial track luge start is just in the footprint, basically, of the natural track start. There's Paul Niagu, the coach and basically team manager of the Romanian outfit, with Andreea Grecu, the driver, started as a brakewoman, and Teodora Vlad behind her. Andrea turns 25 on Thursday of this week, so happy birthday to her. Don't know what that is in Romania, I'm afraid. 21-year-old brakewoman Teodora making only her second ever World Cup start. She raced here in four-man with Maria Constantin in January last year. And Andrea Grecu, having started as a brakewoman, only half a dozen races as a driver. Maria Constantin is here, but she is not racing this year, taking the year out to decide whether she's going to continue coaching or come back to racing. Getting the event underway, round 4 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup is Andrea Grecu of Romania, 20th in the race here last year. Little slide out of turn 1 down into, well, what isn't turn 1, turn 3, in fact, down into the S's. Out of the S4 curve onto the bend away, you can see there, 3 corners in the, quote, straight into the Jena curve. That sets you up. And it's been really tricky to get that right, to get into the Kreisel this week. Last week, luge was here. The corners are much more rounded. Going down through the lower labyrinth, you can see that little channel down the middle. Hard to get a bobsleigh down there. Now, climbing out of 17. Little flop off there, up to 18 and across the line. 51.33 is the time for Andrea Grecu. Paul Diago looks happy with that. A little chat with the Romanians over the training. And Andrea pretty happy to be back here. There is Maria Constantin helping with the sled. Here's Andrea Grecu, little meander out of the first corner and a dink on the wall. Now the ice has been pretty much covered in a metre or two of snow for the last couple of days, but it is very hard underneath, and here through the Kreisel, great view of the sled in this 3 pressure corner. There's Andrea. So first sled down. Next up, Alicia Rissling of Canada, finished in 5th position in the race here last year. And Alicia will make her commentary debut tomorrow as she joins me in the booth for the 4-man race. Beside her in the shot and behind her in the sled, 26-year-old brakewoman, the Booge, making her 6th World Cup start. 18th World Cup for Alicia Rissling as a driver. And Christian Bushnowski, who's on the back handles, silver medalist last weekend with, not Alicia, but with Christine de Bruin, and swapping sleds for this weekend. 5:29 getaway, so she's immediately ahead as she sits down, gets a good first corner exit, neat and tidy down into the S's. The rhythm here is so critical because if you get the first one wrong, it just gets wronger and wronger, and you come out with too much pressure onto the bend away. 1 tap, steers for the 2nd tap. Oh, gets a nasty little second bump there. That pushes her a little offline through Jena. 109.5 is good speed. Oh, but very clattery as she came off the Kreisel wrong. Down through Say curve and the labyrinth. And that, all those hits just drag speed out of the sled. She's gone behind the Romanian. And this could be a big margin at the end. She was 1400s up onto the bend away and a 1/4 of a second back. Graham Richardson knows where the mistake was. So too Alicia Rissling. The double tap on the straight set her up wrong into Jena. She was late through the Kreisel, didn't quite get it back on track. And late down through the lower labyrinth. And there you either trickle through like a river of mercury or you hit everything in sight. Now, the first tap you're always going to take. It's unfortunate the 2nd tap, though. She gets the touch, and then the back bunk touches, and the front comes in again. So it's not the first tap, it's the double tap there, and that, you're 3 sled lengths late, and you're still 3 sled lengths late here through the doodles. Bish, bash, bosh. And as uncomfortable as it looks. Switzerland's Martina Fonteneve finished in 10th place here last year. This is her 10th World Cup, 5th World Cup for brakewoman Irina Strebel, she of the curly locks, the 22-year-old. Raced here with Martina last season to that 10th place finish, which is in fact Martina's 2nd best World Cup result. Her best, it may surprise you not, 5th position in St. Moritz, her home ice. fraction ahead of the Canadians. Beg your pardon, fraction ahead of the Romanians off a similar start, 5:35. Oh, horrible skid. Well, this is the first time they've slid on the track this week without snow, and that makes it very different. The sled responds completely differently now. She gets a very nice exit out of the Kreisel, nice through the lower labyrinth. How far behind was she? 1400s. Let's see if she can find something. She hasn't quite got the speed of Martina Fonteneva. Not quite of Andrea Grecu. Is she going to be close at the line? No. 3300s back. Wolfgang Stamfer, the coach. Former Austrian slider who's been looking after the Swiss for a number of years now. And the City of Sled just didn't get the numbers at the bottom. That big skid down the bend away robbed her of the speed she needed. Look, doesn't get the first tap. She's trying not to steer, hoping the tap will straighten her up. Watch the runner tips. She doesn't flinch. She takes the knock. Now down through Echo. Little low on the exit. Comes out. So she brought it down just a fraction early, and then the pressure tapped her into the wall. Andrea Grecu of Romania on her first World Cup of the season leads the race here in Koenigsee, Bavaria. Next up, Lubov Chernik and Julia Schok-Schwaver. Lubov, a World Cup rookie this season. She only started sliding in November 2016. This is her third year of sliding on ice. And her fourth World Cup as well for 26-year-old brakewoman Julia Schok-Schwaver. Lubov Chernik, just 23 years old. A lot of potential in this young slider. She's the only one in the field who didn't race, no, one of two in the field who didn't race in last year's World Cup. Comes nice and straight out of the spurs, 5:37, a fraction slower than our race leader. 400s back into the S's. Look at the way the sled swoops out. Nice height in S3, but a huge skid off S4 and sliding all the way down the bend away. That's as ugly as can be. Through Jena into the Kreisel. First pressure, second pressure, and get the third pressure and the steer on the exit. It'll either feel horrible or disgraceful. Not a bad run down through the lower labyrinth, but she's already 3/10 back. Speed 106.9, now up to 117, quicker than Andrea Grecu, but at the line she ducks ahead under the cowl, 51.96. That leaves her 6,300s off the lead, held by Romania's Andrea Grecu. No wonder Paul Niago looked happy. Now, in fairness, two relatively inexperienced sliders have just come down, Martina Fonteneva and Lubov Chernik. Alicia Rissling had an error, but wow, look at this down the bend away. Looks like the back of the sled, something's broken. If that was a race car, you'd definitely say something was broken. Keeps kicking the tail out, keeps kicking the tail out there. And you wonder whether that is all just driving and getting the wrong pressure off the corner. Andrea Grecu of Romania leads after the first four of our 14 sleds. Women's Bobsleigh World Cup number 4 in the shadow of Grünstein. We're in Koenigsee, Bavaria. Next up is Stephanie Schneider. Her 34th World Cup start, her 17th as a driver. And this is where her starts as a driver now match her starts as a brakewoman. Winner last year, great recovery there, very soft hands as she drifts out of the groove but avoids having a big steer and getting a handful of opposite. Good height in S3, let's take a look at the exit of S4 again. Get into these turns on different, very different ice from the snowy track they've been racing on or training on all week, and probably with a little more speed. 1:11.1 top speed into the Kreisel. Great run through the lower labyrinth from Stephanie Schneider in the lead and motoring away from Andrea Grecu. She was 2/10 up on the bend away, pulls it off early, down to 1300s, 1:18.9. Quicker than Lubov Chernik. How far ahead? Only 1600s ahead. Last year's winner, 1600s ahead of the girl who finished 20th last year. She receives a very warm welcome from the faithful here in Bavaria. There's the team doctor, the 6'8" figure of him leaning over the barriers. Well, it was a little rocky down at the end of the labyrinth. Oh, look at that. Big take on onto corner 16, Echo Vant. Then she pulls it off early, takes the hit on the exit as well. That's uphill. So there is there to tidy up for Stephanie Schneider, our race leader, after 5 sleds. Katy Beil of Austria finished in 12th place here last year, the 25-year-old. It was her second best World Cup result of the season, her best 5th position in Winterberg last year. And she's got 24-year-old Dutch-born brakewoman Jennifer Onasanya behind her. Well, Katy Beil, one of those athletes who can laugh and joke with people to a couple of minutes before she gets into the sled and then manages to snap the focus in immediately. Some of them need to be very isolated very early. She has conviviality herself until the moment she steps onto the ice. Ooh, little slide there down the bend away. Pretty standard double taps there, straightens her up into Jena, so she didn't come skidding in to the left before the Kreisel. 1:11.4, decent speed, quicker than the race leader. Good exit. Can she steer it nicely through? Takes a little tap just going into Echo. 1600s back, so she's lost no more speed. Speed at the bottom, very good indeed, very close. Second fastest, just 2/10 behind. Good run from Katy Beil, and 2600s back. Jawohl, indeed, I think. Well, the man on the left there, Franz Josef Hoffmann, spoke to him on the way down from the start to the commentary booth. He said, I reckon the fastest run from the girls will be a 50.5. At the moment, we're 51.4. Big smile from Katy Beil. That clearly felt good. Take a look here, down into the labyrinth, just steering around. A little too much of that. Just get bumped away in 15 and then slithering up onto Echo. And again, big bump on the wall into the seal curve, corner 18. That robs you of speed as well. It's uphill there, climbing towards the line. So Katy Beil, Jennifer Onasanya in 3rd place behind Andrea Greco and Stephanie Schneider. Next up, our 2-time winner this season and in her career, finished 4th here last year, the Olympic champion Mariama Yamanka. And Annika Dratsek continues her remarkable run. The 23-year-old brakewoman, this is her 19th World Cup start now, and she has been off the podium just 3 times. Going to have a look at her World Championship starts as well. 25th World Cup start. It's a big marker here for our Olympic champion Mariama Yamanka. Her quarter century of bobsleigh races clocks up today, 5:21. So fastest start we've seen. Good exit from 1. Now she can exit the S as well, then she really has a chance to drive away from her rivals, and that is absolutely textbook. Steers away from the first hit, takes 3, keeps it straight into the Jena curve. Well, she really stepped up incredibly in the Olympic Games, and then came out all guns blazing this season, won the first race, her first ever World Cup victory. Now she is driving away. This is absolutely textbook stuff. Little late flop and a little bump into 18, but Yamanka 3200s up, 50.85, suddenly a 50.50, as noted by Franz Josef Hoffmann, doesn't seem so much out of reach. Well, great start from Yamanka, the 28-year-old driver, and her 23-year-old powerhouse. And down the bend away. No panic again. Watch the runner tips. Is she steering? Barely at all. Just a little flinch as it clatters the wall. Here's the only real error. A late flop of 17 and then a bump early onto 18. And that skids the sled sideways and then a big take on onto 18. So that together, those two little errors can easily have cost her a 10th. Mariama Umanka is our race leader, though, with 7 of the 14 sleds down. 2 of our 3 German sleds have gone. This is Anna Kohler, the 25-year-old. Her 12th World Cup, second ever for brakewoman Lisa Sophie Gericke, the 23-year-old former speed skater. Long wriggle into the cockpit there from Anna Kohler. Lisa Gericke made her World Cup debut in Sigulda. They finished in 3rd place there. Not sure I know of another former speed skater in the sport. And look how low Anna Kohler sits in the sled. She has to look around the cowl like some Florida grandmother looking around the steering wheel hub. She's not driving like a granny, though. 3/10 back. Sews together the labyrinth very nicely, so she'll stop the bleeding. Let's take a look at the speed. Fastest at the bottom, Stephanie Schneider, 1:18.9. And she is right in there as well, half a second back. She gets a good run through 17 and 18, 51.43. Now that is going to put her potentially out of medal contention if she has only a clean second run. She needs an absolutely sensational second run, and possibly some help from those in front by making mistakes. Well, Anna Kohler, 12th here last year. It's her 12th World Cup start. A little rocky as she came off S4, having to steer and work it down the straight. Looking around the big V-shaped hull of her FES sled. Mariama Umanka leads Stephanie Schneider and Andrea Grecu. What a run from her. 3rd, halfway through the heat. Last weekend, Misha McNeil led at the end of the first heat, and she and Montel Douglas were hoping to try and put together Great Britain Bobsleigh's first win this century. In the end, it didn't quite happen. There was an issue with the timing as a paper cup blew in, or foam cup blew in, got caught under the runners, but also triggered a second timing loop. They were given 6 at the line. It was hastily recorrected to 4th. Let's see what they can do here. Last winter, Misha was 17th here in Koenigsee. Her driving has come on in leaps and bounds. 5:37 the start. Well, from the 5:35 start, Andrea Grecu of Romania is lying in 3rd. Nice height in S3 and S4. Little skid, but she corrects it. Now she gets a good run down through the bend away, and she doesn't make any touches. Okay. And the speed, 110 kilometers an hour. Very good speed into the Kreisel. She needs a good exit here as well. And she gets one. Little bump down through 15. Now through Echo, the huge left-hander. Good exit there, uphill through 17. Little flop and into 18. Neat and tidy. Where's she going to end up? In 4th place at the line, 51.34. And that is within shouting distance of the medals. She is 100th of a second behind Andrea Grecu of Romania. The 3 Germans have gone down. They are 1st, 2nd, and equal 5th, because Anna Kohler is tied with Cathy Beil. Ahead of them by 900ths, Misha McNeil. Ahead of her by 100th in 3rd is Romania's Andrea Grecu. We'll take a look at the bend away here. Slight steer, just skates past the wall. You know, with the yellow on it and a line like that, you go, well, there's a German driver. It obviously isn't. But a really nice run from Misha McNeil. 8th fastest start. Little bump on 15, unsettles Monty in the back, but Mish 4th at the line. Nadezhda Sergeyeva of Russia with Anna Parfenova behind her, her brakewoman. And Nadezhda finishing in 5th place last year in the race. That was her strongest World Cup result of the season. Only the 10th fastest start of 5:38. That's 100th behind Misha McNeil of Great Britain. Sergeyeva does know how to drive this track. She's had good results here and shockers as well. Crashed out of the World Championships when she was looking very strong a couple of seasons ago. 1:10.5, good speed, but 1:11.4, the fastest sled into the Kreisel, Kathi Beil of Austria. 9th place on the splits for Nadezhda Sergeva now. Little height perhaps in the middle of Echo, but it worked well for her on the exit. Little bump onto 18 and a flop off. 9th place at the line, 51.79. Not one of her better drives down here. So Anna Parfenova, the brake woman, out of the sled and helping to shunt it. A little late height and a flop and a tap. And again, uphill into 80. Oh, very early take on. And again, the long rounded corners that are so ideal for luge. A little early for bobsled. 10 sleds down, 4 to go. Russians 9th and 10th in the field. Germans 1st and 2nd. Where will the Americans figure in? Well, our world champion, our Olympic silver medalist, is first up, Alana Myers-Taylor. Lake Königssee is rapidly turning into her #1 call on the back handles. Needs to have had a good season so far. Alana disqualified for a slight technical infringement with the sled when they're in a medal hunting position in the season opener in Sigulda. She took bronze in Winterberg, bronze in Altenburg, and the snow looks as though it might just be starting. Shouldn't be enough to put the sled off. Shouldn't be enough to slow the sled down either, but you can see there is a tiny little ice dusting. 5:22, that's a big start. Only one sled got away quicker. Yamanka, our race leader. Nice looking exit from the Kreisel, from the S's rather, from S4. Takes 2 or 3 taps down the bend away through the inner curve. Little wavy in the Kreisel. Now, how does she deal with the exit? Right down the middle of the tube. No, little tap. Little Z curve into 15. Through Echo, good exit. Climbing up the hill now, 2700s back. This is still 2nd place, but a quarter of a second away from the leader and more, 51.18. Well, she deposes Romania's Andrea Grecu by tying Stephanie, 100th behind Stephanie Schneider. Schneider is 3200s back, and Alana Myers-Taylor 3300s back. There's Shana Robot helping with the sled down at the bottom. Well, she got just a fraction early maybe off S4. The edge of the roof there appears to be dropping snow into the track. They cleared it back from the edge, but clearly some has slipped off. Down through the labyrinth. That is threading the eye of a needle. You've got to haul it off the Kreisel in exactly the right spot or you just hit everything. Stephanie Schneider 2nd, Alana Myers-Taylor 3rd, Mariama Yamanka, our race leader. 3 sleds to go here, Koenigsee, Bavaria, Heat 1, Race 4 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Next up is Brittany Reinbold with Lauren Gibbs behind her. Brittany, one of only 2 women in the field who did not race in the World Cup here in Koenigsee last year. So far, 5th place in Sigulda, 11th in Winterberg and in Altenburg, the last 2 tracks. Let's see if she can return to closer to the top of the tree. 5:38 getaway. And Brittany Reinbold will be my broadcast partner for the 2-man race this afternoon. She'll swap spikes and a speed suit for the warmth of the booth and a microphone. Nice exit onto the bend away. Really nice exit onto the bend away. 11th at the start, but skiddy into Jena. She's going to have to wrestle that onto the Kreisel. Still 11th as she came down the bend away. Now, can she drive herself into a top 10 finish? She needs to be ahead of Nadezhda Sergeva of Russia and Lubov Chernik, her teammate. Decent exit, but a little rattle. It's a top 10 run at the moment. And Brittany Reinbold across the line, 51.83 in 11th. And where does that leave her? 400s behind Sergiver. So definite opportunity to move up. Sergiver didn't have a great run. And there were a few mistakes there as well from Brittany Reinbold. Not the most experienced driver on this track for sure. Charlie says, hey, don't leave me with this. Heavy take on onto the first corner there, and that certainly didn't help. You don't have a lot of speed at the start. You need to make sure you keep most of it alive. A little skid and a drift, and then a double tap and sideways tapping down into the Jena curve. So still learning the nuances of this track. 2 to go. Anne van Nieuwenhuis next for Belgium with Sarah Ertz, 27-year-old Anne, and 34-year-old Sarah. And a bunch of the Belgian and Dutch bobsled crews were taking a little ice bath in the Koenigsee yesterday. Snow on the ground, ice on the water, but apparently it was very nice. Anne did it a few years ago, didn't feel the need to get in again. We stood and watched. 13th to the start, 5:43. Let's see what she can produce down the run. Good exits from the Belgian sled. Nice run down the bend away. 2 square hits. 109.8 as she comes onto the Kreisel. Top speed 111. Oh, just fringing the wall down through the labyrinth. Didn't hear anything. Looks like she got away with it neat and tidily. Down through Echo. Starting to climb uphill now. 8/10 back. 8th fastest on speed. And 10th place at the line. 51.74. Tom Delahunty happy with that. He's working with the Dutch and the Belgian bobsled teams. They've kind of formed a little Low Countries grouping. You would say Benelux, except there is no Luxembourg sled in there, so Benny Neddy, something, yeah, in there somewhere. Well, take a look at her coming down the bend away. 1 hit, 2 hits. She steers around the first one and through the Kreisel. Sarah there, tucked down out of the airflow behind. A little wavy maybe. Yeah, maybe. Final sled of our first heat and the 17th World Cup start for Christine de, how do you say it, Christine? De Bruin, apparently, is how the Dutch try to tell her how to say it. She says De Bruin. Behind her, Janine McHugh. Janine, 32-year-old from Cochrane, Alberta, making her World Cup debut behind the woman with whom she started sliding in provincial bobsled. She started with Christine when she had her first ever trips. She makes her first ever World Cup start with Christine. And Christine, fresh off 2nd place last weekend. 5:46, though, is the least speedy of the getaways in the field. Let's see what she can produce. Silver medal in Altenburg, her first time on the World Cup podium. Nice run down the straight, double tap, straightens it up into Jena. Still in 14th place on the split. It's below the Kreisel that you need to find the speed. Looking good through the labyrinth. Now this should see a move up towards the top 10. Speed is decent, lines are good. Only picked up 1 spot. She's ahead of Lubov Chernik of Russia, and at the line, ahead of Brittany Reinbold as well. Todd Hayes on the right, Graham Richardson in the middle. Well, it didn't look that much of a slow run, not major mistakes. Just didn't seem to have a lot of speed. 14th in last year's World Cup race here. She's in 12th place, tied with Brittany Reinbold, in fact, after the first heat. 400s out of 11th. And 900s out of the top 10. Well, look in the Kreisel here. She's right in the middle of the runner marks. That's pretty much where you want to be. Again, look at Janine McHugh hanging on to the 2 little grab handles, 2 little loops of metal there to hang on. That's all that the brakeman has, or brakewoman has, to cling on inside the sled when they get bumped around. First of our 2 heats, race for the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup is down and dusted. And it is Mariama Yamanka, the Olympic champion, our two-time winner this season, who heads the field 32 hundredths ahead of a near tie for silver. Yamanka is head and shoulders above them here on the first heat. This is her race to give away. This year, she doesn't appear to be in the giving races away mood. Not that she ever was particularly, but now that she's started winning, seems hard to stop her. Stephanie Schneider, Alana Myers-Taylor, 100th apart for the silver medal. Angia Grecu, could she get in there? Well, she needs a bit of help, but she is just ahead of Misha McNeil. Then Katy Ball and Anna Kola tied. Lisa Rissling ahead of Martina Fonteneva, and there's the next little group, Van Jernhaus-Sergeva, De Bruyne Reinbold, all close together ahead of Lubov Chernik. Well, the women come back on the ice for the second and deciding heat at 1500 local, which is a little over 50 minutes from now. Join me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew trackside here in Koenigsee, Bavaria for the second heat of the Women's Bobsleigh World Cup in the track's 50th anniversary week.